Welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I'm your host, Geoffrey Morrissey. For the last time, we are backstage at Boston Calling, joined today by Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. Tom and Marcel from that band join me. How are you guys today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good.
To compliment you both, Tom for the Celtic shirt, knowing the audience, and then Marcel, we have the same sunglasses. So,
yeah, matching.
It seems like we're all on the same page, which is nice to hear. So at Boston Calling, is there any bands that y'all are looking forward to seeing today?
Today, well, unfortunately we missed Snail Mail, but I would have loved to have seen that. And then, yeah, obviously Travis Scott later on is going to be pretty incredible. So,
yeah, and we came in last night actually to see Tame Impala, obviously, fellow Australian band. They, that was huge. And who else did we see?
Anderson .Paak. That was cool.
Yeah, and we missed Skeggs as well, but they're another Aussie band who played at the same time as us. But yeah, it's a great lineup.
Yeah, definitely people having to make some tough choices with all the different stages and such going on. And since we are in Boston, do you guys have a favorite Boston band that comes to mind?
Am I right in thinking that the Pixies are from Boston?
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Bang.
I know it's a classic. How can you not?
Yeah.
The Pixies are great. Oh God, let's go with that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you can't really go wrong with the Pixies, or Pixies. That makes a ton of sense to me. So you guys play festivals all around the world. I have only sort of been to festivals in America, so I'm wondering if you can kind of help me compare and contrast. Are there any unique sort of quirks of American festivals or anything that's done differently in sort of Europe, Australia, and the rest of the world?
I mean, Boston Calling is a very well-organized festival from what we can see. Everyone's really comfortable. It's at Harvard, so that's a unique thing in itself. We don't really see that sort of thing over in Europe or Australia, where a festival's set up the way it is at a university.
Yeah, we've only played a few US festivals really. Like we played, I'm gonna go and say this is my favorite that we've played in the States. Like, it's a great setup here, and like Marcel said, really well run. We played Coachella, and that's like a whole different universe. That was cool, but it was a real trip for us. That's like,
such a large scale.
Yeah, the mind boggles. And I think we also played down in Atlanta at Shaky Knees. That was a really cool festival. I don't know, I think American festivals are really well run and organized. Like,
yeah,
in Australia, the ones that we kind of grew up going to, yeah, really great as well. But maybe like probably a bit more casual, I'd say, is the thing. There's a bit less, less of an official presence.
Yeah.
Try to keep the,
And I guess it's probably more popular in Australia to do a festival where you camp at it, and you spend the weekend somewhere that's outside of the city, and you kind of make an effort to leave, the place that you live, to go and set up camp for the weekend and live on site. That happens a lot in Australia for festivals. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That sounds pretty cool to me. Hopefully I'll get to a festival outside of our city limits one day.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I love most about y'all's band, 3 separate sort of singers and songwriters. How do y'all sort of go about making sure that everyone has their own voice in songs while sort of maintaining also a sound as a unit as well?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of natural. It works naturally for us. Like the 3 of us who sing and play guitar, Joe, Fran, and myself, we've been playing music together. We've known each other for a long time. Like, they're cousins. I've known Fran, kind of best friends since start of high school, and Joe for not long after that. And we kind of know how each other work. And then there's also Marcel. Obviously, he was the last one to meet, for us all to meet. But we've all lived with Marcel at different times and known you for now, I don't know how many years. A long time.
Over 10 years now.
Over 10 years now. And the other member is my brother, Joe. So like, I feel like there's a bit of we all know each other really well, and I don't know, it's a little bit unspoken. It kind of,
I think we all just get excited, when writing new music, to all be in the room together from the beginning of an idea, and to sort of hatch a song together and explore it. Whereas if we kind of enjoy the result of that more than if one person brings in a fully formed song. So I think that process in itself has been, something that we've always stood by and probably will do in the future.
Yeah, we know how each other work, and we kind of, it's not too forced. It's just a natural thing. Everyone kind of gets their voice and gets their input.
Well, that's what we'd like to hear. Y'all are a band after my own heart, sort of in the democratic way of, everyone has an input, but also 2 songs with allusions to coffee, or sort of like coffee-type terms with French press. So I have to ask, how do y'all take your coffee? Do you have a favorite coffee drink?
I'm pretty fickle with my coffee, and it changes day to day. I've spent 10 years making coffee and roasting coffee, which is not the reason why any of our songs have a reference to coffee.
I was always pitching coffee ideas. But yeah, make another song about coffee.
Mine is,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have to check in with me each day because my coffee order changes very rapidly.
Yeah, I'm generally we have a coffee drink in Australia. Melbourne, where we're from, has very high standard of coffee, and I have a drink called a flat white.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I think is coming in here a little bit. It's essentially similar to a cafe latte, and no one really knows the difference apart from, I think,
slightly less milk, slightly less air in the milk. I'm getting really technical here.
Yeah.
If you really want to,
it's a thicker.
Really want to go into the
crema.
details, we could spend a whole hour on the differences. I think it's less milk and less air in the milk, so it's less creamy. That's the main gist of it.
That's an accurate answer. Yeah, I guess we come from a pretty coffee-obsessed place, so maybe it just filters through.
Be careful what you wish for, Marcel. We might be doing a coffee interview the next time y'all come to Boston.
Let's do it.
That'd be pretty cool by me. And now, are y'all still sort of balancing 9 to 5 sort of day jobs with music as well, or how's that sort of been working?
We've sort of been doing a little bit of that, but we've had we've been trying to concentrate on writing and demoing the next record. So we've sort of had the last 6 months where we weren't really touring so much, and we were based in Melbourne. We have a studio set up there, which we're really fortunate to have. And that's sort of been the main focus as far as the next step for the band is just to get the next record down and see what happens next. I think,
at
maybe
the moment, we're definitely not at that stage where we can kind of do music full time. We come from a long way away from like places like the US and Europe where there's a lot of the audiences, and we kind of just juggle at the moment. We'll have our day jobs, and we just make it work and then go off and tour.
There you go. Well, make it work. You guys certainly do. I don't know why I said that in a Yoda type way, but in any event, you guys do a ton of these interviews. What do you wish you got asked more often?
That's a good question.
I think the coffee one's a good one because that was a good question. Like, you often get questions like, "What's the album about?" But I think favorite foods and drinks, like,
we're really passionate about weird things.
We could
like
talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, music-related questions are good as well, I guess.
It's fun to go off topic. It's kind of novel.
No, and I completely agree with you there, and I couldn't help but mention or notice that you have sort of a different beer than the Sam Adams in the Tent. So, any reviews or thoughts on this one, or favorite beers from either of y'all in general?
In America, I like Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada's a classic. I mean, there's the craft beer game here is really good. So in the artist area, there's a bunch of these Mikkeller beers, which seem to be from San Diego. This one's called Passion Pool, and it's kind of like a fresh Pilsner thing, and it's got like passion fruit notes, and it's very fresh and fruity.
There's just a million beers, it's hard to keep up.
It's very hard to choice here.
Every block there's a new specialty.
We like beers, so
it works.
Especially tasty beers.
Yeah. I think it's more about the temperature of the beer. It just has to be really, really cold, which America does very well, so we really appreciate that.
That I certainly will agree with you on. A cold beer is the only good beer in my opinion. But I know you guys have a lot to do today, so I'll make this my last question. Who are y'all listening to right now?
An artist out of New Zealand, Aldous Harding, just put out a record called Designer, which is an incredible piece of work. Julia Jacklin, out of Sydney, just put out a record called Crushing, which is also an incredible piece of work. They're probably the two that have been on heavy rotation for me at the moment. I feel like we're really spoiled in Australia. There just seems to be a lot of good stuff coming out of there, so it's been my main focus for the last month or so.
Yeah, I have to second those two. Just trying to think. Been listening to a bit of the new Big Thief record, which is incredible. Like, big fan of that band. One
that I haven't gotten to yet, but is on the list, is Kevin Morby's record as well. Oh my god, I think
big fan of the
that'll be next.
K-Mobs.
That's the next. That'll be for this tour. That'll be my van record.
Generally on tour we tend to discover new music because there's a lot of driving, so we'll let you know in a few weeks.
Well, there we go. Well, if you want to discover some great new music, listen to Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. That band has joined me today. Guys, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for your time, Jeff.